Well, you said you don't want to make assumptions about whether or not immigrants are perhaps more likely to be in favour of freedom, etc. But I want to make the assumption. So this is me. This is not Rukshan. This is me. Blame me if you're unhappy about this. I've noticed as I attend these rallies and as I look at who's sending me messages, it is disproportionately first and second generation immigrants. Now, we are a country of immigrants. Like, there's a huge number of immigrants in this country. So you'd expect a large number already, but the number is completely disproportionate. I'm a fifth generation Aussie. I'm almost as Aussie as you can get without being Aboriginal. Like, you would have to have Indigenous blood in order to be more Aussie than what I am. My wife, just by pure fluke, is basically the same, right? But in terms of the people actually getting active and pushing back against this, we're in the minority. The majority are people that have come from, whether it's the subcontinent, whether it's from Asia, whether it's from South America, whether it's from Eastern Europe. As I talk to people at these protests, and as I talk to people that message my page, it is overwhelmingly people that have a relatively recent family history with some form of dictatorship, whether it's communist, whether it's fascist, whether it's whatever it may have been. It's overwhelmingly these people. Let me frame it as a question. But this is my personal sort of thesis, and I would, if you disagree with this genuinely, I want you to disagree and help me to think through this better. But my theory is that Australians who have only ever known Australia, we've gotten lazy and we've taken it for granted, and we think that this is normal. We don't have that international perspective on what life can be like. Is that fair, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that, like especially in the last 20 months with everything's transpired. There is some sort of truth to that. And a part of it would be just like you and I have this kind of laid back Aussie larrikin style attitude, right? That's kind of ingrained into you from a very young age. And I have a lot of that as well. And like a lot of my attitudes towards a lot of things in life is that, oh, it'll be fine, it's all good.
Yeah, she'll be right. And she'll be right, mate.
Yeah, right. You hear that a lot, right? And we look at government and we think that, they're going to do what's best for us. And, all these crazy things they're doing right now, they'll just drop that at a beat of a hat and, they'll move on. And that's not always the case. And you can look to, the US after 9/11 and they, came in with the Patriot Act and, that was all about, dealing with terrorists overseas and stuff. And over time, what happened was that those laws and rules that they brought in were actually turned against the people of the country, against America themselves. And at the start, everyone kind of supported all those things because it's about something else, right? It's about fighting this whole terrorism. And I think in a way, with a lot of this stuff that's happening around the pandemic and the way that the laws are going and the rules are going, the normalization of believing that government alone and that these authorities alone dictates the path that a country is, I think is wrong. I think it's always going to be, it should be a part of a conversation with the people itself as well. So we have seen that over the last 20 months, governments, especially in Victoria, have failed to take the people along with them, to take the people on that journey. And they have treated people like they're an obstacle, like they are in the way of their policies and the decisions and the things that they want to do, which is, when that kind of thing starts happening on a regular basis, with a lot of detachment from the actual impact it's having on people's lives, it's dangerous territory because it normalizes that behavior. And I feel like if it's not challenged in many different ways, whether it's through the courts or protest or whatever it is, if that's not challenged and people don't arc up about it, you're going to be in a situation where that is, the COVID normal forever, which is where authorities and governments believe that, at the drop of a hat, they can just institute whatever they want.
Well, I don't remember who originally said it, but there's a quote that I can't attribute because I don't remember. There is nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. And you brought up 9/11 a couple of times, and I think that's a case in point. I mean, we just saw 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we just saw the anti-terror squad deployed on the streets of Melbourne with an armored vehicle shooting rubber bullets on site at people who they thought might have been protesters. It wasn't even like a formed up protest. It was just, oh, we think you're a protester, we're going to shoot at you now. This was the anti-terror squad. These were the people that we were told that we needed in order to deal with terrorists. Now they're dealing with protesters.
100%. Like the justification, like the militarization of the police force in America over the last 20 years was mainly as a result of their response to 9/11, where they gave police forces all these extra funds, all these new weapons and stuff to use in those terrorist type situations. But we're seeing increasingly it's being against people, their own citizens. And that's how it kind of creeps in and it stays. And some of the policies that we're seeing right now in terms of our response to COVID, these things will be here for a long time. And I think people are kidding themselves if they believe that it just you just click your fingers and all this is gone. It's not. It's actually here. And it's going to take a lot to unwind some of this stuff, and it's going to take a lot of strong, brave leadership from a lot of people to make sure that we take some of this stuff back.